final stream before I finish my degree. I know I said yesterday, the other day was going to be my final one, but I figured, do you know what? I really want to talk about Born Again Season 2. I'm going to do it in one stream, and then therefore that's going to be it, really. That will be it for streams until I finish, because I've got too much going on, and I'm literally in a late rehearsal tomorrow as well. So let's get straight to business. My thoughts on Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again Season 2. And just off the bat, I'm going to say this... by the way, spoilers will be all throughout this. Oh, where's Kingpin? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. There you are, Kingpin. This stream is going to contain spoilers. I've given it a couple of days. So hopefully everyone has seen the episode by now, and yeah, but my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again Season 2. It's the best season of any of the Marvel Disney Plus shows, of all of them. And I did say that about Season 1, I did. However, this season makes Season 1 look like an amateur work. I love Season 1. I know it wasn't perfect. You can definitely tell that it was this sort of Frankenstein of a show, as it was, you know, taking bits of an old draft and reworking it, bringing back the original like Netflix era characters. You know, characters like Karen Page, Foggy Nelson, Frank Castle, all these characters that we know and love, and introducing a lot of new characters. Heather Glenn, Buck Cashman, Sheila Rivera, all of these characters that we have gotten to know over the course of these 2 seasons, plus revisiting a lot of old characters from the Netflix era. Even some like really surprising cameos such as Brett Mahoney, Mitchell Ellison, all those characters. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing to see them all, and also see the arcs of these new characters. And it's been, honestly, just a beautiful, beautiful run of episodes. I think every episode has had a really strong point. Every episode has been rewatchable in every way. I've not felt like I wanted to skip any episodes, and I didn't really with Season 1. I thought Season 5 was a bit of an odd one. I understood it and I didn't mind it. I did rewatch Season 1 Episode 5 when I did my Born Again rewatch leading up to Season 2, and to be honest, when I do it again in the run up to Season 3, I'm still going to watch it, but I wouldn't just watch it out of the blue. Whereas with this season, every episode has got something worth rewatching, and every episode lands the mark. I think my one issue with this season, I got a couple of nitpicks. I'll say that. I'm going to get into those now, just because I don't want to, you know, keep going on about the negatives. But I've got a couple of things. I think the biggest thing I had an issue with, which was resolved in episode 7, it was the Daniel Blake and DB storyline. I'm going to be honest. It didn't land for me. I didn't understand it. It felt very abrupt, out the blue, and I didn't really get what they were trying to do with it. I think they made sense at the end, giving Daniel a redemptive arc, but it all felt very, you know, it felt a little bit flat to me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. However, I think there were some lovely, lovely moments in episode 7, which obviously saw the death of Daniel Blake. And I did think that Daniel was... I didn't think Daniel was going to be killed off. I genuinely thought he was the Kingpin's son. I genuinely thought that Daniel Blake was going to be revealed to be Kingpin's bastard son from a relationship during his early days. But I was wrong. I was wrong. And, you know, they killed him off. And fair play, it was a very sad scene. You know, they built up not only the relationship between Daniel and BB, but also the relationship between Daniel and Buck. And you could tell it wasn't an easy thing for Buck to do. I mean, and the fact he did it was great, because it kept the stakes. I heard that originally they wasn't going to kill Daniel off. And I would have been very disappointed if that was the case. Because I thought the character of Daniel was interesting, he was cool. But he also didn't really serve much of a purpose, in my opinion. You know, he didn't really bring much. I could have watched the entire show without him, and I'd have still understood the plot completely. You know? I just think that the character was not really that needed. And I feel like there was a lot of scenes with him where it felt very forced that he was this like nuanced character, and in my opinion he just wasn't. But yeah, that is my biggest gripe with the show, with the season, was the continuation of the Daniel Blake storyline. The next thing I do want to talk a bit about is the Cole North thing, the Cole North story, because I didn't understand it. It felt very abrupt. You know, it was. I genuinely thought he died in. I thought he died in the end of season 1, the season 1 finale, straight to hell. And you know, I didn't mind that, the fact that he, you know, I didn't mind the idea that he died. I thought he kind of served his plot. And I feel like the whole reason they brought him back is so that eventually they can have that confrontation with him and Angela Del Toro. I think there was glimpses of it in the season 2 finale, but I do think there is more to come. And obviously knowing that him and Powell, they survived and they're also in prison with Matt, definitely makes me think that Cole North's story isn't over yet. And I think that is where the problem lies a little bit. There are too many stories that are still being just kept open. The gradual story is over now, you know. Matt's identity is out and Kingpin is now no longer mayor, and it's brilliant. Honestly, I think the ending of season two was absolutely perfect, and I'm going to start raving about season 2 in general and the highlights of the season for me. But I think that was a bit too much from the first 2 seasons that's been kept over. Cole North, I think, being the biggest one. Obviously, that they're now doing the Lady Muse storyline with Heather Glenn, which is a very interesting decision, and I think actually a better one than where Heather Glenn goes in the comic books, because obviously, and of course, trigger warning for mental health and suicide here, but Heather Glenn does take her own life in the comic books, and I think it's interesting that they're not going down that route. So, you know, where they go with it is going to be really interesting to see, and also who deals with her. Because obviously, Matt's going to be in prison, so there's no Daredevil. Everyone knows he's now Daredevil, so are the Defenders going to apprehend Heather? Is Karen going to apprehend Heather? Is the Punisher going to do it? Like, there's so many different, you know, like, theories to how this could go down. And I think it was brilliant. It's really, really brilliant. But yeah. I think with the Cole North storyline, that was just a bit of an unnecessary, you know, claw onto that story. I think ideally they should have the final showdown between Angela as the White Tiger, and then and Cole North, and then have it be, you know, a sort of mirror of Daredevil and Bullseye's relationship in season 2, because that, in my opinion, has been one of the strongest parts of the season for an already really strong season. But yeah, I really did love seeing Angela in the White Tiger suit, also using the abilities of the amulet, because obviously she was moving mad that entire episode. You know, beating up an AVTF soldier with a AVTF officer with his own gun, really. There was some really lovely moments of it. In terms of nitpicks, I do think Jessica Jones wasn't used enough, considering how prominent she was featured in the marketing. And I'm really going to say that's more of a compliment to Kristen Ritter, because she's come back after 7 years and she has not missed a mark. There was not a single point where I feel like she was warming back up to this role reprisal. It was brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic. Kristen Ritter fit right back in, as if she never left, as if she saw the blip, as if she saw every bad thing that's happened in the MCU post Jessica Jones season 3. It felt like she just fit right in. And it was so cool as well seeing her interact with Kingpin a bit. Because obviously we never got that in the original show. Kingpin was in prison throughout most of Jessica Jones's run. In fact, no, for all of Jessica Jones' runs, he went back to prison before season 3. But yeah, it was brilliant. But I do think she wasn't used enough. I think we could have introduced Jessica perhaps an episode or two earlier. Don't even have to give her a fight scene, just have her show up. Because she's referenced at the start of the show when Karen's talking about getting a reference to the Northern Star by someone, and then that person's quite obviously Jessica. But I think it would have been interesting because it was so cool seeing her as a mother, seeing her, confront Mr. Charles over Luke and what happened there. And I do think they've left that open deliberately to find out in season 3, and I don't mind that. I don't mind, some things have got to carry over. We will get the answers to what Luke Cage was up to eventually, but just not this season, and I'm okay with that. And speaking of Luke, let's get Luke Cage up here. There he is. And speaking of Luke Cage, it is so good to see him back. Oh my god. That was, I knew it was coming. I'm sorry, but Mike Coulter, as much as I love the guy, cannot keep a secret to save his life. I honestly think he's about as bad as Tom Holland at this point. But honestly, I think he was absolutely brilliant. It was only in one scene, and he just came back like nothing had happened. And obviously, we got to see him reunite with Danielle and Jessica, and it was such a lovely scene. And I'm very excited to see Luke Cage and Iron Fist again when we pick things back up in season 3. I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome to see them all again. Speaking of Iron Fist, whereabouts is he? I know he's in the game. There he is. But yeah, I'm very excited to see how things go with him, with them both. But anyway, now to the things I really loved, and I think it goes back to these two. The relationship between Daredevil and Kingpin is quite possibly, actually no, quite definitely, in my opinion, the best relationship in the MCU right now. These two cannot live without each other, and season 3 is really going to put that to the test. I think these two are like, 4-star ads. I know I don't want to bring up sequel logic here, but if we're thinking realistically, these two cannot exist without each other. It's insane. I honestly loved both performances throughout this season. They were brilliant. They were absolutely phenomenal. Vincent D'Onofrio, his performance, in my opinion, was definitely award-worthy, as was Charlie Cox. Vincent D'Onofrio, I think, definitely took best moment of the episode for the season 2 finale. I don't know why I said season 9 there, but the scene when he's crashing out, and obviously all of the Daredevil protesters they're coming out, and he's like, okay, open that door. He says boo, and then punches one, murders them in one punch, and then he absolutely demolishes them. He does the bullseye, takedown where he grabs someone, smashes their spine into a wall. It was brilliant. It was absolutely brutal. My jaw was on the floor, much like Gallows. Kingpin is definitely taking the extremism of murders in the MCU right now. From Gallows' death to all of the protesters. Oh, that's cool. Just shot him dead. All of these scenes with Kingpin were brilliant. The fight scenes between him and Matt in episode 6, I did rave about that a lot in one of my other streams. But the whole shebang was just amazing with Kingpin, and I'm really excited to see him come back now that he's completely powerless. And I saw a lot of discourse complaining about the fact that he murdered all of these people, and he got away with it basically, and he took the deal, and he exiled himself from New York. And I mean, I get it, and part of me does slightly agree, but he has nothing. Kingpin, he's lost Vanessa. Vanessa's gone. He has no power. He has barely any money. Like, he's lost everything. For him, that's a fate worse than death. That's a fate worse than prison. He's going to have to build all of this back up, and he will do. And I strongly suspect that the Hand is going to play a part in that. I think that the Kingpin is going to follow the comic book storyline. He's going to take over the Hand, and we will get the Shadowland storyline. In I'd say either season 3 or season 4. But Kingpin is now, he's done. He's not in a good way. And you can tell by the set photos in season 3. He's got a beard. He's wearing like these grotty, grubby clothes. He's found his way back to New York, but he's not in a good way. So, for me, it was like the perfect final outing of Kingpin as mayor, and it's also quite an emotional moment as well because of the fact that both Matt and Fisk, they're both lost, which was ultimately the way that this conflict had to end. They both had to lose. It goes back to that first meeting they had in the diner in season 1, where they both came up in the world. They both started doing these great things, but at such a high cost. But for their war escalated to the point where they both had to go down. And I think it was such a beautiful scene when they were both talking, and Daredevil managed to save Kingpin from being beaten to death by the rioters. And even then, seeing Fisk hold his own against so many rioters is just insane. I'm genuinely not convinced that he is a human being. I think that Fisk has some kind of, I don't want to say mutation, but definitely some kind of superhuman ability. I don't know if that goes back to just the trauma that he felt as a kid with his dad, or what happened when he was coming up and becoming the Kingpin. I don't know, and I want to know. I want more. I want to see a Kingpin presentation, and I want to play Wilson Fisk. That is actually my dream role now, to play a young Wilson Fisk coming up in the world. I really need that more than anything. But yeah, honestly, it was incredible. The whole episode was incredible. The season was incredible. I've got one other nitpick, and this is only because this has happened twice now. We need to stop seeing Matt Murdock get injured just before the finale, because it's happened twice, and it's almost a convenient cop out to pull back the budget a little bit on the action sequences, and the action sequences were amazing. But I also think about the fact that we've now had 2 season finales where Matt Murdock is injured. In season 1 he got shot by Bullseye. In season 2 he got shot again by the AVTF. I'm just thinking like, okay, this is a little bit much now. I hope in season 3 Matt is fighting at full potential, and for that Defenders reunion that is coming. Either way, I still think it was a brilliant episode and a brilliant season overall. I think this season really did feel like a war. A battle for New York. We've had the Battle of New York in the first Avengers film, and now we've had the Battle for New York, the New York Civil War in a way. And it was brilliant. It was amazing, and I didn't feel like I needed to see Spider-Man there either. I know he should have been there. He should have been helping out Matt, but who knows? I reckon Brand New Day is going to explain why Peter wasn't there when Matt really could have done with him. But yeah. This season was breathtaking, absolutely breathtaking. The music was amazing. The emotional scenes were just breathtakingly stunning. There were so many fight scenes. There were so many incredible moments all throughout the season that I just think made this season the best of any Daredevil or that Netflix era season yet. It felt like season 3 of the original Netflix series, which I think was the best one, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I think they wrapped up Dex's storyline in a really nice way as well, having him now go be with Mr. Charles and become an assassin again. It almost feels like his journey's come full circle. Now he's back working for the government, but this time it is now completely embracing the identity as Bullseye. I think that was a really nice touch, but ultimately it was just a really well put together season, and you can definitely tell that there wasn't a creative overhaul this time. I do think that some of the scenes were changed at last minute. I know Charlie Cox said that there was this massive stunt where he was jumping off like this 20-foot crane, and that didn't make it into the cut, and a lot of the martial arts stuff. And I'm going to have a quick rant about that after I make this point, but like, you could definitely tell a lot of the stuff there wasn't done, but I still think the show was complete without it. But now I do want to have a rant about some very public opinions towards Karen, a certain fight scene with Karen Page. Karen beat and disarmed an ABTF officer, and apparently people didn't like that. And my response to that is, why? Because not only did Karen kick his ass, but she's been training all season. There's been literally clips of her, or like scenes of her, in like a lot of episodes where she's been training. And it's not like she's even, this is her first fight. She managed to knock out Saunders and kidnap him. So why is it a problem now when Karen protects herself? She did not need to be saved. She took care of him brilliantly. And not only that, but not only is she, in love with Matt Murdock, but she's also very closely connected to the Punisher, who was most likely taught her some basic self-defense as well, especially when it comes to handling weapons. My one complaint with that scene is how clearly the gun was CGI. That's it. I still think Karen should have, got the gun off him like he did. I just think that